Yep.
Hey everybody, Dan Joseph and Devon here. We are hopping on and we're going to be talking about Devon for the next half an hour. Woo. And why are we going to be talking about Devon? Because this motherfucker, oops, I should probably not swear that much, closed 34 transactions in his first 12 months in the business, which is absolutely crazy considering that most real estate agents close between 5 and 10 deals in their first 12 months, if they're lucky. And an average agent who has been in the business for 10 years closes an average of 10 transactions a year. So we're going to deep dive into why and how Devon closed 34 transactions and is such a outlier when it comes to statistics of a new agent. So Devon, do you kind of want to fill us in how, why, and what you do in your first year and why you got into real estate in the first place?
Yeah. So I'll start with why I got into it in the first place. So prior to joining the team here, I was already working in real estate. I was doing kind of like online sales essentially for nationwide real estate investing company. So essentially I was doing sales, selling their programs for helping people build out their investment business, their systems, CRMs, as well as some wholesaling and some different programs like that. Quickly realized that working from home was not for me. Started to just feel like a hermit crab, especially in the winter time. Everybody naturally is anyways. So just lacking that social interaction and everything like that. Go figure, as a real estate agent, I like to be around people and talk. So I actually met with Dan. Somebody referred me over to him that he was an investor in the area. I wanted to meet with him as I was kind of thinking about getting into wholesaling. We sat down, got some coffee, never really turned into anything, but added each other on social media. 8 months later, I see that he's looking for an agent, and I was like, well, shoot, here's a logical step if I'm going to transition to something else. So overall, been in real estate for 3.5 years, but like Dan said, just over a year now, actually on the team. So I think that story right there goes to show that your network is your net worth. Had I never started that job, taken that step to meet Dan, added each other, who knows, maybe never found ourselves in this situation. So
yeah. And since then, you've closed $8.8 million worth of real estate, which in our office here, it's a normal thing. In other offices, you'd be the top producing agent out of 50 agents. So I wanted to bring this up, not to talk about us necessarily, but more so to figure out what Devon is doing on a daily basis to hopefully bring this value to another agent who is listening to this, and they can rip off and duplicate what we're doing and what Devon is doing into their own business and be able to scale up their business and do as much business as they ever could desire, just like Devon has done. So we're going to dive into three things that Devon is. The three things that Devon has contributed his success to, and two pitfalls where a lot of agents miss the mark and causes them to stagnate, not do much business. So
yeah,
Devon, where should we start?
I think the first one that is definitely the most important is lead generation. Sure, you can go spend a bunch of money on Zillow leads and compete against everybody else in the Eau Claire market and have a super low conversion rate. Or you can kind of follow the model of what we're doing, which is being really strict with time blocking is number one. So every single morning, jump on a morning meeting with the team, and then I dive right into lead gen from 9 to 12. So that lead gen, each day consists of different things based on the type of business that I want to have, the type of clients I want to acquire, and things like that. But first and foremost, I had to find ways to provide value. So when I'm making all these calls, I'm not just calling like, hey, I just started real estate yesterday. I know nothing. Would you like to do some business, right? So really skilling up, practicing a lot of scripts, doing a lot of trainings, talking to a lot of investors around us that I've known, and all sorts of different avenues to learn was number one. But number two, within that time block and within this lead generation, taking that value, providing value to receive value. So doing everything I can at, especially in those beginning stages, whether that was my prior knowledge with investing, whether that was just connecting dots between myself and maybe they needed a painter or a contractor or something like that, any possible way I could provide value. And really it's to build that relationship, right? Because the relationship has to come before the business. The business comes. So I spent a lot of time in the beginning just building relationships, and not only building them, maybe reconnecting or furthering relationships from, my teenage years and beyond. High school friends, coaches, teachers, family friends, old coworkers, you name it. Really getting in touch with everybody, like I said, trying to rebuild that relationship, further it, or just provide value in any way that I can. So I think that was a big one.
You mentioned in the early days you were focusing on building relationships, and I would say you'd probably do just as much today as you did even when you got started.
Yep.
Your lead generation is blocked off in order for you to continue to build those relationships, nurture new relationships. Naturally, some relationships will kind of peter off, and then you got to build new relationships. People might move out of town, people might pass away, people might naturally your database, your sphere, your people you know, like, and trust are going to naturally kind of go away, and you need to focus on building that constantly. So that's one thing you honestly just crushed over the last year, is getting known by the people who you've had relationships in the past, that you are the real estate guy of choice if they were to think of buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And I think the biggest mindset roadblock that a lot of agents have when they first get into business is what to say to somebody when they reach out to them.
Yeah.
So can you kind of touch base on that?
Yeah. So just in terms of reaching out to spheres, friends, people that I might feel uncomfortable to talk to because you haven't talked to them in 10 years.
I think when I talk about lead generation to people, they automatically think I'm cold calling people and I'm asking if they want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. That's like the first thing that they think of, and they say, that's not me. And I'm going to be the first one to say, I've done that, and I hate doing that too. And the person on the other end of the phone also does not like to be cold called and solicited for buying or selling real estate. Like, that's not fun. And that's not how we do it. So I kind of want to hear your perspective on what we tell people what we do.
Yeah. So first, it was a big mindset thing, reaching out to people from high school I literally haven't talked to in 6-8 years, and maybe I wasn't even that close with them back then. Just as an example, but it's a big mindset thing, because you think you work it up so much in your head that it's going to be the end of the world. You're going to call them, it's going to be super awkward, they're going to be weirded out, they're going to judge you and tell all their friends that, oh my god, Devon gave me a call or whatever, when the reality is that nobody cares. So the number one mindset shift for me coming into this is that nobody cares about you. People care about you, obviously, but in the sense of, do you really think they're going to remember 2 hours later, the day later, the next day later, unless you had a really good conversation that you reached out and wanted to reconnect? Do you really think they're actually going to be upset about that? It doesn't mean it's not difficult to do. It's simple, but it's not easy, as we always say. It's definitely simple, not easy, because sometimes it is a little weird. Sometimes it is a little awkward, but the reality is those people are your bread and butter, and those people, it's really fun to connect with. It's really fun to rebuild that relationship and see what they're up to nowadays. And I would say 80% of the time they really appreciate you reaching out. It's not like everybody has that same mentality they did when they were 15, 17, 18 years old. We're all getting old, starting our careers, getting into our careers, and people like to connect. People like to get to know each other again. So
one thing I would tell myself is that when I'm about to make a phone call and I didn't want to, I would just tell myself that whoever's not on the other end of the phone is going to be happy that I called them. And 1 out of 100 people aren't happy, but there's 99 people that were happy. That one person that you called that wasn't happy that you called them at that exact time, that's on them. It's not your fault.
And having the conviction going into it that you're going to leave them better than you found them. So that could mean helping them out with real estate? Likely not, especially in the beginning. Usually it's going to take some time, some nurturing, some whatever. Maybe that's just making them laugh, putting a smile on their face. Maybe they're just happy you reached out in the first place. So really going in with the mindset that not only if it goes horrible, who cares? But number two, that you're going to leave them better than you found them.
Some examples of what we do during lead generation is a lot of the time we'll have events or we'll host a buyer seminar and we'll call our entire database and let them know about our events that we're throwing. And it's never about, obviously our buyer seminar is about real estate, but we're not asking them if they're ready to buy or sell. It's more so, hey, do you know of anybody that is looking to possibly get out of renting, who's looking to buy their first house? We're having a seminar. And if that person happens to be the person that we're looking for, great, they can sign up. But if they're not, we're not directing the question at them, are you looking to buy now? It's a much less direct conversation question to them that they're gonna feel like we're not trying to hard sell them into something, which we're absolutely not.
Yeah, like last year we gave away ice cream coupons to Ramones. It was just a great way to reach out to everybody for nothing real estate related and just offer them ice cream, because who doesn't love ice cream?
Yep.
So I was just kind of finding those creative ways to connect with people and keep building the relationship.
And we kind of went over this really quick, but Devon, you said that you had an actual specialized, like we don't think about this because we do this every day, but we have time every single day, actually time blocked for lead generation.
Yeah.
And we protect that.
Yeah, because I mean, if the reality is if you don't get up and get it done in the morning, are you really ever going to get it done? The afternoon just gets so busy, whether that's showings, negotiations, maybe going to the gym, making food, taking a nap, whatever your day consists of. If you have a side hustle, whatever that is, if you don't do the most important part of your business right away, first thing, and get it out of the way, very high probability it's just not going to get done. And on top of that, it makes the rest of the day easier. I know my entire afternoon, all I have to do is show properties, go on consults, negotiate, blah, 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 nothing related to generating new business, because I took that hardest part of my day and I got it done right away. And I think one other really important note on that, because like I said, in the beginning, it wasn't just 9 to 12. I was basically lead generating all day, because what else did I have to do, right? I wasn't going on showings. I wasn't going on consults. But once you start building up a little bit of business and you get a little bit of funnel and you're doing all these showings and XYZ, it's really easy to get away from the lead generation because you're so busy, right? So what happens when you get these properties under contract, these clients under contract, and you weren't doing your lead gen during that time, so now you got to start from ground zero. So I think that's probably the most important thing is, number one, sure, it's going to generate business, but when you're doing it day in, day out, time blocked so it gets done, you very rarely run into that, oh shoot, my funnel's empty, I have no clients, XYZ.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was number one, was lead generation. What else? What else is on your top three things for a new agent who's doing, let's say, from 0 to 20 transactions a year? They want to get up to 30, 34, like where you're at, or higher.
Yeah, I would say number two is treating it like another job, because it's really easy for us to be our own bosses and to slack off, to sleep in, to not have necessarily the oversight or the accountability, a manager breathing down our neck, making sure we're getting all of our tasks done. It's the love-hate relationship with being an entrepreneur, with being a business owner, is you do have so much freedom, but you still have to treat it like a job. You got to show up from 9 to 5, or whatever your day looks like. And to further that, I think a lot of agents come in into it because there is a barrier of entry monetarily. Not only does it cost money to become a realtor, between dues and your tests and your licensing and everything like that, but then a lot of times you go 3-4 months without getting paid, without getting your first deal actually closed. So a lot of agents are doing other jobs, bartending, side hustles, property management, you name it. Not that you can't succeed by doing those things, but I think a huge advantage for me is I really believed in myself, and I went 100% real estate. Nothing else was consuming my time, energy, or focus. I was 100% focused on real estate, and I really think that helped me get off to a really quick start, rather than maybe bartending till 12 o'clock last night and not waking up on time to get to the morning meeting and get my lead gen done and everything else. So Yeah, moral of the story. It's really important to keep yourself accountable as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to a set schedule so you don't really let things fall through the cracks.
Yeah, I thought about that in the past. I could pick up a little side hustle on the side, and maybe I could make a couple $100 bartending from 6 p.m. till midnight. But what did I lose by spending that time bartending if I could have gone to a networking event or have a drink with a friend to build a relationship, an investor relationship with them? What's the compound effect of me having a meaningful business conversation, a meaningful business thing, or actually recovering for the next day versus making a few bucks bartending or doing a side hustle? I think the opportunity cost of having a second job. No, don't get me wrong. I encourage everybody to have a second job until they're confident that they can actually make it happen in real estate. However, there is a point where you're gonna have diminishing returns on that side hustle, and you're gonna be better off actually just focusing on your business. And do it that way. Another thing you said is, betting on yourself and knowing that if you trust the process and you follow the systems, you find a mentor that's going to be able to actually show you the ropes and how to get things done. If you follow the playbook, you're going to be successful and you're going to make it in the long run. If you can do that, you can stay focused. So I love that.
Yeah, but I think it's a good way, like you said, like follow playbook. Nothing happens overnight, right? But with consistency and following a proven process, it's virtually guaranteed to happen. So it's really easy to get caught up in like instant gratification, like, oh shoot, I didn't do a deal this first month, second month, whatever, and fall out of it because you don't have the accountability, the support from someone who's been there, done that, and is where you want to be. That is an extremely important aspect of it.
One thing that I struggle with, and I think a lot of agents who are kind of 6 months to a year in the real estate business struggle with understanding that if they do the activities right, their business will be consistent-ish. Obviously, being a business, we have some inconsistencies with the seasonality of real estate and the economy, what the economy is doing. However, if we're doing the consistent activities, we're going to have a consistent business. And by doing so, we got to have a little bit of faith in ourselves that we're doing the right actions that are going to get us the business. And if we're not doing the right activities, I wouldn't have faith in myself either. However, when Devon's making a decision on what he's going to be doing throughout the day, more so, okay, what am I going to do today to benefit my future business, and how can I scale up essentially? I mean, doing 34 transactions in your first year is not a small feat, and obviously it would take a lot of focus and grit and just believing in yourself in the first place.
Like you said, it's hard to have confidence if you're not doing the right activities. It's like action breeds confidence. Like when you make a promise to yourself and you keep it. I mean, that's the greatest way to build self-respect and self-love. And I think that is such an important piece of it, because if I wasn't following a playbook, like if I wasn't doing these activities, time blocking, doing my contacts, my lead gen, everything else, I would have had no reason to believe in myself and to have confidence, because it's not like I'm going to wake up one morning with 30 hot leads in my pipeline. So doing the action 100% is what breeds that confidence. It goes hand in hand.
What are a couple of things you think why agents fail and don't make it off the ground? Because obviously you're off the ground, you're soaring at this point, and your business is consistent and you're growing. Wow, pretty good pace. Why do you think some agents grow like how you're growing, and some agents are able to get off the ground?
Yeah, I think well, probably the biggest one is the resources around you, which means a few different things. So resources, number one, like we talked about before, we could talk about like having a mentor or a playbook in some way, shape, or form. That could mean joining a team. That could mean hiring a coach, another realtor in your office that is where you want to be, right? Like, so that could mean a lot of different things, but it is so important to have that accountability in that playbook. And I really think a lot of agents jump into it without that, or maybe the perception that they have it, but it's not actually what they need to succeed to get to where they want to be. So that's a huge one. And then to further that, I'll go ahead.
I'll add something to that. So when you said that find somebody, I like what you said with finding somebody in your office that you can learn from. Specifically, we have to be a little bit more specific on who that person is, because if that person also closes 5 deals a year, do you think you're going to close 34 deals if your mentor is closing 5 or 10 deals? Or even worse, they don't sell real estate and they're not in production.
Yeah.
I've seen that so many times where an agent will say, yeah, I have a mentor in my office, and they're helping me figure out the ropes on how to sell real estate. And it's like, well, is their business at the point where you want to run your business? If the answer is no, find a different mentor. They're not going to help you scale up your business to be able to do 34 transactions a year when they don't even sell 10. So being very specific on finding somebody to grow your business alongside of that has also done what you want to do and get the goals out of your business that you want to get.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think the next thing on resources is the system side of it. As far as your database is concerned, when I say database, I know Dan's made some other videos in here on this, but I'm talking about all of your friends, your family, your clients, and everything in between, everybody you've met that you have somewhat of a relationship with. So a place to store that's not an Excel spreadsheet, that's not a yellow notepad, that's not your notes on your phone. Having a place where all of that data is stored, it's easily accessible, and it can work for you. What I mean by that is being able to set them up on automated plans for follow-up, for monthly reminders based on their situation, having a program that allows you to just very easily and effectively, consistently reach out to all of these people rather than letting them slip through the cracks or losing that piece of paper or trying to sort through an Excel spreadsheet that after a month just gets too clogged to even comprehend anywho. So having that organization and know-how on who to reach out to, I think was absolutely massive in me getting started. And without that, I feel like I would have been a mess. And I feel like a lot of people, especially looking back a year now, all the people that I've met, because I think when I started, I had about 200 in there. Now I'm up to 350 or so. I can't imagine how many deals I would have lost or how many future deals I would have lost by letting things slip through the cracks.
Yep.
So that's certainly a big one.
Yeah, what would be the third thing that you think that real estate agents fail in the first year?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's a mindset getting into it. The mindset, maybe the market was really hot the last couple of years, right? What a great time to get into real estate, or your family member has done it and had a lot of success in it. So you're like, you know what, I don't want to do, I'm going to jump into real estate. It seems like relatively easy. It is quite the opposite. There are a lot of benefits to our job. There are easy-ish things, but generally speaking, it's very difficult to be a real estate agent and to build and scale a legitimate business. So just coming in, assuming that, you're opening doors and it's all flowers and roses and whatnot, I do think there are a lot of people that hit some adversity, be it interaction with a client or a pending deal that didn't go well, or didn't end well, be it you didn't build up a sales funnel, you haven't been able to attract any clients because you haven't been putting in the right activities. That has to be a huge indicator on a lot of agents falling out, is they're losing all that self-confidence by hitting adversity, by not having that playbook to follow, or assuming it was going to be a lot easier than it was.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how many agents who get into the business and think it's going to be a simple ride, and then understand that it is simple, but it's not necessarily easy.
Yep.
And the difficult tasks sometimes are too difficult for agents to get over, and they don't ever get off the ground.
Yeah.
They don't have the consistency or the know-how actually where to put their energy. In my first year in the business, I had a lot of energy and a lot of intensity, but I had no idea where I was putting my energy into. And so it was just going off in 10 different directions, and I never got anywhere. I was kind of just like swimming, but I was flailing my arms and legs in every direction to the point where I was just sitting there and almost drowning. Yeah. So having a direction where you want to go and understand that it's going to be work for a while, for forever, actually.
A lot of grit
A lot of grit that is required in real estate, Yeah, I would say it summarizes Devon's first year in the business quite well. 34 transactions, $8.8 million worth of real estate. That's phenomenal, and I'm excited to see where Devon is at on year 2. Just those numbers came in his first 12 months, which is just absolutely mind blowing. We're not talking about somebody who's been in the business for 10 years. We're talking about somebody who just got in the business a year ago. And excited to see where he's at in 10 years from now. What he's up to then. He's gonna definitely own some more rental properties.
Me too.
And yeah, I guess if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to Devon anytime. Reach out to myself, reach out to moral of the story is find somebody that you can talk to that's a mentor and plug into resources that you have within your community, because there's a lot more that is possible when you actually learn from people like Devon. So other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And any final words from Devon?
Just reiterate what you said. I'd love to hear some questions or thoughts or anything like that. I think an ingrained passion in all of us is talking about real estate and talking about business. So there's no limits to the amount of conversation we're willing to have around it. So yeah, please reach out.
All righty. Peace out, guys.